Hey, my name is Tolg, and I exist, therefore I think too much. I'm gonna read Beyond Good and Evil by Fred, and I'm on point 50 and 51. I don't remember. I don't remember reading or going over 49. I guess I'll reread 49. So yeah, and I rant when I talk, and I cuss, so, you don't like that, you don't have to. Something, I think, on the note of ranting, I got to a weird point in high school. I think maybe I could be a people pleaser, but I don't know. Because I have an issue with authority, and you would think a people pleaser wouldn't. So I'm not sure what that's about. But I would go to my mom and ask for, advice on things that were happening. Something she told me was that I am too involved in observing other people that I don't observe myself. And then she clinched that with, people are gonna dislike you. You don't have to be in a position where everybody likes you. And it really hit a chord in my person, because I logically understand that. Illogically, I move trying to be perfect so that I can't be hurt. And it hit like this fever pitch after so much social abuse had happened, which is another rant I would like to make. Where I finally concluded I wasn't born to make people happy. That's not a reason I was born. I don't think anyone's born for that. If it's just a happy side effect to an existence, if you're happy with it, yay, if you like something, great. If you don't like something, awesome. It's your prerogative. It's how you move through the world. And I don't think anyone is necessarily created so that someone else can like them. And I do think that's a very egotistical way of looking at the world, like you need to like everything. And if you don't like something, that they need to adjust, that thing needs to adjust so that you can like it. You don't have to like everything. That's fine. And on the note of social abuses, I was thinking of this today in the car. Just some random ranting to start this off with. That has nothing to do with Nietzsche, so I apologize. But there's been some commentary made of let's bring bullying back. And I would like my opinion to be inserted into your sphere of knowledge for no reason in particular other than to have it there. If you're an adult, you can get tried like an adult. It's not bullying, it's abuse. The end result is on your hands. In the act of judgment, you are not without judgment. In the act of judging someone for not being up to par, morally, ethically, or in any other superficial way, you are not without the ability to be judged yourself. Your morals, your ethics, in how you judge someone, in how you act against someone, are still up to be questioned. You still have to act in the best way towards people. That's part of being able to stand by what you do and hold yourself accountable in hopes that the world doesn't get worse for any existence in it. It's not bullying. You're not a child. It's abuse. Okay, having said all of this. So point 49. That which is so astonishing in the religious life of the ancient Greeks is the irresistible stream of gratitude which it pours forth. It is a very superior kind of man who takes such an attitude towards nature and life. I agree with that. Later on, when the populace got the upper hand in Greece, fear became rampant also in religion, and Christianity was preparing itself. I think that puts fear and Christianity as a synonymous force. And I think that's a reasonable argument. Scholars have definitely claimed that the hell discussed in the Bible, where it says teeth gnash, is respective of the pits that existed outside of city walls, where they would put the ill and the people generally that they couldn't take care of, like lepers or, so the gnashing of the teeth were people yelling in these pits. And is therein, the creation of hell was the worst by which humans could create themselves. Likewise, fun fact, this one is a fact, definitely. Lucifer was written into the Bible. Initially, though, was a dude running for the seat of papacy, and the person he was running against really, really, really wanted to be pope. So he wrote Lucifer into the Bible as the ultimate evil, so that he wouldn't be elected pope. Ta-da! Although that isn't to say anything about demons and devils and Satans that it mentions. However, there are too many names by which anything is addressed. And I guess my favorite parable, where evil and Christianity is concerned, was twofold. I don't know if they are chronologically paired together, but Jesus is passing by a town, and the townspeople are complaining about the noise, and they're saying, "Can you please come and help us? This man won't shut up." So Jesus goes to the local graveyard where this man has been chained to a tombstone, whether by his own doing or the townspeople. Essentially, the reason he's there is because he keeps screaming in agony. And they say, "Please do something about this." So Jesus is like, okay. So he sends the demons in this man, whose teeth are gnashing, into a group of pigs. At which point, the pigs then run off a cliff and throw themselves into a river. The other parable is, Jesus teaches people how to send demons out of people, things, whatever. And there are two men who are like, "Hey, there's a local cave over here that's inhabited with these demons. We should go and do what we just learned, send them out." And the buddy was like, "Okay, I guess so." So they go to this cave system, they enter it, and they say, "In the name of Jesus, I rebuke you." At which point they're met with the demons, who then say, "Jesus, we know. Yeah, we've heard of him. You? We don't know who you are." And proceed to torment these men until they run from the cave system. So, yeah. I don't know. I guess the only reason I like it is because current Christianity teaches that, everyone's in a war. Where does it say that? That's why I say that Christianity is fear-based. When did God say that you were at war? So 50, the passion for God. There are churlish, honest-hearted, and importunate kinds of it, like that of Luther, the whole of Protestantism. Protestantism. I said it right the first time, I'm sorry. Just wanted to make sure I did. Lacks the southern delicatezza. I'm so sorry. There is an oriental exaltation of the mind in it. By oriental, I'm still confused on what stretch of area he intends to insinuate. So, I do understand exaltation of mind to be attributed to like Buddhism, kind of Shintoism, and Hinduism. Very much appreciate, mind over matter type of things. But Protestant were the people that led the witch hunts. So I'm having a difficult time, understanding what he intends by that. Like that of an undeservedly favored or elevated slave. And I don't know why he has to equate it to a slave when you could just say someone who doesn't deserve an ego. Which is a lot of people. I assume that's what you mean. In implying slave, I would assume he would favor a slave as someone in a role lesser than his own. And in being undeserving. Peter Principle, again. Promoted to a point of incompetency. Again, you could just say someone doesn't deserve their ego. I don't know why he had to bring classism into that. As in the case of St. Augustine. I don't know who St. Augustine is, so maybe that's why it's relevant. For instance, who lacks in an offensive manner all nobility in bearing and desires. In bearing? He lacks nobility in presentation, I think? I guess I would have to know more about St. Augustine. There is a feminine tenderness and sensuality in it. In what? Which modestly and unconsciously longs for a unio mystica unio? I don't know what language this is, I'm sorry. Unio mystica et physica? As in the case of Madame de Guyon. So much name dropping. Alright, so something is feminine. The passion for God is feminine. Alright. Sure. And then unio mystica et physica. The union of mysticism in the physical or of the physical? Or the union between mysticism and the physical? There is a feminine tenderness and sensuality which modestly and unconsciously longs for a union between the mystical and the physical, as in the case of Madame de Guyon. That's romantic. I keep using that word. In many cases, it appears, curiously enough, as the disguise of a girl's or youth's puberty. How? How does it appear like that? Here and there, even as the hysteria of an old maid, also as her last ambition. Passion for God? I don't think he's on the same note anymore as how he started. Or he's mystified by women. I think that could be. The church has frequently canonized the woman in such a case. church has frequently canonized women as subservient, where, if you are translating the Bible from the initial Hebrew or Latin, it is my understanding that it did not have vowels. And the older the language, the less likely it pointed out which gender it was actually addressing. And one would have to guess at the gender of something based on the power that it was granted. So I think older written record was kind of paired with word of mouth as to what something might have been. And then lost to time and assumed everything with strength must have been masculine. Because, biblically, when a woman is considered strong, she is simultaneously considered evil. And the opposite force of that is subservient and submissive. Makes you wonder why women were perceived as a threat for so long. Unless, again, women are synonymous for passion, which, for the longest time, it was understood that women were only their sex drive. Like, I was reading something. Okay, I have it in my mind. I know what it is. I cannot come up with the title for it at all. So sorry. Wait, is it up there? God, I am so sorry. But along this man's journey and his pilgrimage, he came by a woman that severely lusted and invited him, at which point he was closer to God by denying the lust and the invitation. Thus his more base nature, and the conclusion of it was that women were by their nature more sexually driven than men. And I think that was, as I understand it, that was like a generally held belief for the longest, for centuries, that women were primarily just sexual beings. And therein, that's why they had to be property of men, because they could not help themselves. If you deny someone education and basic human rights, what have you given them but the right over their body only? And then you've even taken that away from them and said, no, you only have that right when you're paired with the person we pair you with. So, yeah, it's understandable that that women would be understood simply as what they were allowed only. And therein, just as passionate beings, because what else were they allowed? So, 51. Did you know, on the note of 50 and what I was just saying, that women in the U.S. did not have the ability to have their own credit until 1980? 51. The mightiest men have hitherto always bowed reverently before the saint. 'Cause of passion? 'Cause of puberty? 'Cause of hysteria? Because of the lack of nobility in St. Augustine? Why are you saying hitherto? As the enigma of self-subjugation and utter voluntary privation. That was something that was said prior, was it goes along with the belief that being born into human nature is a sin in and of itself, that human nature is a sin, and thus being exalted into sainthood is overcoming human nature. Being without sin is just simply not acting human. Which could be received so many different ways, as I'm thinking about it. And it is vague enough, you could bend it whichever way would serve the situation at hand. Anyways, this promotes, though, that the overcoming being human is self-subjugation. So something like self-actualization, and then that resulting into being able to hold yourself accountable and controlling your actions and maybe probably thoughts as well. Which should be, a goal of anyone. I don't think that should be upheld as sainthood. I think that should just be a general goal. Along with grace when you don't meet it, but that should just be a goal, right? Privation, why did they thus bow? Because it should be a goal. They divined in him, and as it were behind the questionableness of his frail and wretched appearance, the superior force which wished to test itself by such a subjugation. So, acting against your humanity makes you look weak. And you are thus subjugated to a force beyond you? The superior force which wished to test itself by such a subjugation. Or the subjugation of the force was the force inhabiting a human body. And it being more superior than the human. like the Men in Black, when the alien tries to inhabit the man's body and then he's like addicted to sugar. And he can't figure out how to wear the human skin suit. That's how I'm understanding this. The strength of will in which they recognized their own strength and love of power. Wow, maybe I should have just read the whole sentence out. Okay, what? Why did they thus bow? They divined in him, and as it were behind the questionableness of his frail and wretched appearance, the superior force which wished to test itself by such a subjugation, the strength of will in which they recognized their own strength and love of power. They recognized their own strength in the strength of will. Is there a strength in simply wanting something? Well, I guess he was talking prior about mind over matter, at which point this sounds very similar to, that current spirituality talk notion of what is it called? Law of attraction, by which a bunch of people are basing their spirituality into, that you want something so much, you work towards it, and it therein, like a magnet, moves towards you. And love of power. Why? Does power make you feel useful? And are you confusing feeling useful and being used as being fulfilled? I knew how to honor it. They honored something in themselves when they honored the saint. Egotism. In addition to this, it could be a form of self-love. Although I feel like there's a good balance needed where you recognize that someone else is definitively someone else, Maybe you should practice self-love in your own time, instead of basing your self-love off of what you see in other people that you like about them and find similar to yourself. Because that should just be liking that about them, as they are not you. And given the subjectivity of life, similar traits in different people may be visited on things therein differently due to what it could be paired with. Peace in me may not look like peace in my neighbor because my peace is paired with passion, where their peace is paired with passion wasn't a good one. My peace is paired with love of knowledge, and their peace is paired with love of understanding. So it can be visited on others in different ways. And there's a similar trait there, but the rest of the traits matter as well in conjunction. So I think you should practice self-love on your own time. In addition to this, the contemplation of the saint suggested to them a suspicion. Should always be suspicious. Such an enormity of self-negation and anti-naturalness will not have been coveted for nothing. Interesting, coveted for nothing. Who would want to lose sense of self? And all of the things that come with being human. What would lead you to that? Oftentimes abuse, if you read a lot of the saints' stories. Abuse or poverty. They have said, inquiringly, there is perhaps a reason for it, some very great danger, poverty, about which the ascetic might wish to be more accurately informed through his secret interlocutors and visitors. Who's coming to him in secret? Ascetism is essentially being a being a monk and denying normal society and normalcy as far as human structure is concerned. Taking a very minimalist lifestyle on. Why are there secret interlocutors and visitors in conjunction with ascetism? Are we talking about the spiritual then? Like angels? In a word, the mighty ones of the world learned to have a new fear before him. They divined a new power, a strange, still unconquered enemy. Angels? The self? It was the will to power. What? Which obliged them to halt before the saint. They had to question him. Oh, okay, so the saint is the new power they have to conquer. Why not just become an ascetic yourself then in order to understand it better? Why would you try to understand it through someone else's version of it? It will never be your version of it. Their humanity is not going to look the same as your humanity, and therein getting rid of humanity is going to be different for both of you. And it's also funny to think that you have to conquer the lack of something. There's a, did I say 50 and 51? Okay, that was 50 and 51. There's a song by, is it just Jack White, or is it the Consolers of the Lonely? No, wait. Is that the band name? I don't remember, but Conquest? That is just currently what's playing in my head every single time I hear Power of Will. It's Conquest. All right. Have a good night. Enjoy yourselves and find your peace. Heal up. Do things that are good for doing, for you or others. Build a community. Invest in stocks. Eat well, drink well, sleep well, be well. Bye-bye.